introduction, but Saharsh will begin first since he'll address the COVID.
Yes.
COVID messaging.
Yes, of course.
We are live.
We're live. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Prior to starting this session, it would be a great failure on our part if we don't address the present situation going on in India vis-a-vis the COVID-19 pandemic. Those who've lost their loved ones, and we would like to express our sincere gratitude to all the frontline workers and ground workers who are working tirelessly in fighting the battle against this deadly virus. On behalf of all of us at the team Ex Macula, we encourage all our viewers to follow the guidelines given by the government and curfews, and we hope that we'll be able to get through this phase also very soon. Prisha?
I am honored to welcome Advocate Jai Wadhwa today and the audience who have joined in through the YouTube live stream. I have been given the rather difficult task of introducing Sir, but I shall try to do it in a few minutes. Sir practices in the Honorable Supreme Court of India and is a legal pedagogue. He specializes in the area of criminal law and constitutional law, among others. By his hard work and knowledge of law, he has reached the apex court of this country. It was his stupendous style of thinking, knowing the nuances of law and arguing about the complicated problems of law that helped the Honorable Supreme Court of India to lay down the law in a number of critical decisions, and as a result, his name was published several times in the Supreme Court journals. Apart from his illustrious career in law and education, his pro bono conscience is reflected in the fact that he gives free legal counsel to those pursuing justice. He was quite humbled to get an opportunity to study criminology and criminal justice at the Queen's University, a Russell Group university, in the UK on scholarship. During his time at Queen's, he not only excelled in academics and put himself in the top 3, thus finishing his higher education in criminology and criminal justice with commendation, but he also became the only Indian to have accomplished this distinction in the field of criminology and criminal justice at Queen's. Sir also excelled and received certificates of merit in extracurricular activities. He was the first Indian amongst his batch to have been chosen for an international moot court competition, representing his college and successfully beating teams from prestigious colleges in the UK, such as Oxford, Cambridge, among others. Subsequently, the senior barristers and Queen's Counsel offered him an exclusive opportunity to consult and discuss the various facets of law of the UK and India. From his batch and among his Indian colleagues in Queen's, Sir was the first Indian to have been chosen in 5 years to train and communicate both on a personal and technical level, and to discuss the laws of the United Kingdom and India with the Royal Military Sandhurst Group, the security group of Queen Elizabeth, the monarch of the United Kingdom at Buckingham Palace. He is again the only Indian amongst his batch to be appointed the Associate Editor of the Verdict Journal, following the correct and systematic method of proofreading and editing by respected professors at Queen's University, Belfast, and the London School of Economics. The magazine publishes blogs and journal articles. In fact, his profile is of great admiration. In addition to his professional career, he is currently contributing to the country's educational environment by delivering legal education to his students, and his students have advanced onto the country's top national law schools. He strongly insists that education is not only about going to school or law school and getting a degree, it's about developing your knowledge and horizons, and then it becomes the most effective weapon to change the world. It is with much joy that we welcome you, sir. Thank you so much for accepting our humble invitation.
Thank you so much, Tisha, for having me. Good evening to you. Good evening to all our viewers. I hope everybody's keeping safe and sound in this unprecedented and troubled times. Thank you.
As the theme of this session is building a litigation practice as a first-generation lawyer, could you walk us through your journey in this profession, your experience of studying law both in India and in the United Kingdom, and your litigation journey so far?
Well, that's a really difficult task because you're asking me to summarize my 13-14 years of journey. I'll try my best to give you good brief overview. Well, the saga started when in 2008, when I had done my 10th and I was in 11th. I took up science firstly. Then I left it because I thought science is not something where I belong. And I then took up commerce. I started with my commerce stream, and that was the time when I had to visit courts also. So I had accompanied my mom to courts. There I had nothing to know about law. Never been to courts. Don't know.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, sir, but there's some issue with the audio. May I ask you to unmute and unmute yourself?
Okay, I'll do that. Now it's okay?
No, sir. Sir, may I request you to rejoin the meeting?
Okay, so I'll leave and I'll leave.
Yes.
Dear participants, don't worry. We'll just resume this session in 2 minutes. So as soon as Sir joins back, we'll resume with the session. In the meantime, please stay here.
Now it's okay?
Yes, sir. It's much better. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks. Okay. So I started visiting courts with my mom for some work, and then knowing nothing what law court is, knowing nothing what law is, knowing nothing what judges are and advocates are, nothing at all. So I, as a young child, I was very intrigued by the fact that what law is and how the proceeding happens. Why do people go to court in the first place? Then I asked my mom, why is it that people go to court? And then first of all, my question was, what is this? Where have we come? And she told me that it's a court of law. So I asked her, why do we go to court of law? And then what's the main reason behind people going? Because if you go to district courts like Tisari and Saket and all Karkaduma and Rohini, you'll see clusters of people there and waiting for their turns, advocates rushing in, rushing out. So I asked my mom, why is it that we here? And then she told me that people, when they have disputes, they come to court of law and they present their case, their disputes, and the judge then decides who is right, who is wrong on the basis of evidences. So my first touch with law was from there. Then obviously mom didn't do much. So I came back, and then this field had sort of left something on me, and I came back and I Googled it up. I asked a couple of my friends what is law and everything. After that, I continued with my studies. So I continued with my 11th. Here and there, I was looking after law and as to what is law, where do we read law, what is act, and something like that. All of it I started reading. So it started sounding that this is something it is intriguing me much. So, and this is something which I love doing it, apart from my 11th and 12th studies. So once I started with this, I finished my 11th and then I finished my 12th. Then the question arose that what will I do now? Because that is when mostly students, they decide based on their streams that what field will they choose? Will they choose commerce? So when they're in commerce, they will choose something in finance or company secretary or CA, whatever. So my parents asked me, what will you do now? And then I told my parents that, look, let me explore all my options, and then I'll get back to you. So I started opening up fields, and I started looking into it. And finally, I came to a conclusion that law is something that I wish to do. Now, before I go ahead, I want to bring this into knowledge of everybody who is listening and hearing me, and rather seeing me also, that I belong to a family where there are a lot of judges, sitting judges of Delhi High Court. Obviously, I will not name them. There are bureaucrats, and there are IAS officers and IPS officers, and the ministers, everybody. Lawyer. So when I decided to choose law, so there was a sort of a huge baitak in the family that since you have now chosen law, how will you do? How will you manage? Because we don't know anything about law. Then finally, I told my mom that this is something that I want to do, and this is something where my interest lies, and this is I will manage myself, and this is my decision that I want to do law myself. Then Finally my mom agreed. Okay, you can go, because the reason why I took up commerce was because she thought that I will go into finance, because we were not financially well, and and me being the only child in the family, so my mother and my family thought that I will go into finance, and then my money income will be good, so at least our situation will improve. So they were expecting that, and I dropped the bomb saying that I will choose law. So having known nothing about law in my family, uh, finally everybody agreed that let me do law, and this is where my interest lies, and this is what I want to do for my entirety of my life. Then this continued, and then finally I took admission into a law school. That is where the actual struggle starts, and that is where the blood, sweat, tears, everything started, because I entered law school. And before entering, my mom told me that, okay, so now you have finally chosen that you will do law. Let me take you to few senior advocates and judges, so that they can at least tell you where to go, what to do, and everything. I was little adamant that no, I will not go to anybody. I will not take anybody. I will not seek anybody's help, because this is something I have decided on my own, knowing nothing that I belong to a family where there are advocates, senior advocates, judges, and everybody. So I will not go to anybody for seeking for help. I want to do this on my own. And this was very clear in my mind. Then I joined the law school, and my mom was very pissed off, and I remember that she didn't talk to me for about a week or so. And finally, I convinced her somehow that I will do it. I will manage it on my own. Let me do it. So I don't want any supporting hand of anybody, so that tomorrow, if anybody says that whatever Jay is because of us. I wanted to be called as a self-made person. So finally, I convinced my mom that I will not go anywhere, and I will do it on my own. Finally, mom got convinced, family got convinced, and I entered law school. After entering into law school, I was again aghast, because there were so many people, so many students, professor coming in, teaching, going out. So when they started teaching, I knew nothing what is happening. No, because I was completely new to it. And to top it all off, I didn't seek anybody's help, or no guidance was given to me. So first couple of months, I was totally blank, what to do, how to do, and everything. So finally, I went to my professor in the law school, and then I asked her, ma'am, what is to be done, because I am completely new and I don't know how to do it. So finally, she trained me a bit, that, okay, whenever a teacher teaches, the teacher will beforehand tell you in the previous class that I will teach this topic in the next class. So you have to go to the library, open up the books, read about the topics, and whatever material is given to you, you have to read that, and then come with a small idea, and then you can sit in the class and listen to the professors. I said okay, and then I started doing all this. But somehow there was this itching in me that this is not sufficient. This is not enough for me to just have a brief idea, and the professors teaching and then going. And we all know how professors in the colleges, due to paucity of time and other academic work, how they teach. So something was itching in me that this is not happening correct. I need to sort this out. Simultaneously, there were other burdens upon me. Burdens such as we were living on rent. So we were, as it is, we were not financially well, and we were living on rent. So we had to pay rent, and so it was very hard to make ends meet. But somehow I was managing, and my family was managing. Then started with the law school, and then going, and then finally the time came when I asked for money from my parents because I wanted to buy books. One thing I want to point out here is, and I am really thankful to my mom, is because despite being a financial crunch, despite being that, and there were times when we used to have lunch in the morning, and we didn't know whether we'll be able to have dinner at night or not. So there was that financial difficulty. But whenever I used to ask mom for money for the books, she never questioned me. She never questioned me, why do you want this? Or can you manage it somehow? Or alternatively, what alternatives do you have? She never questioned me, and I'm really grateful to her for that. So that is somehow I built my own library, and finally the law school started, and I started studying, and then I started studying from the professors on my own, started making notes, because this thing was clear by the time the law started, because I did BLLB. So by the time law started, this thing was clear that I have to study on my own, and I cannot completely rely upon the professors teaching in the class. So I started opening up books, reading it. Finally, I thought that one book is not sufficient to make a comprehensive note. So let me open up 2-3 more books of the same topic, and then make comprehensive notes. So so for example, I'm studying law of contract. So I picked up Avtar Singh and a couple of more books, and then started reading it and started making comprehensive notes. There was this difficulty there also that not all books, the language in all books are not very easy to understand. So you have to pick up those books initially where the language is easy to understand, so that at least it makes you build your base, and then you can gradually build up on more comprehensive books, more lengthy books. So nobody told me that, because obviously I never seeked anybody's help. So finally spent money, bought books, started reading, making notes, and all this started. Then second semester happened, third semester happened, and was happening this way, fourth semester. So by the time I entered fourth semester, which is second year, I realized that there has to be more to it. My life cannot simply happen this way, that I am going home, coming back to college, studying again, going back home, again coming back to college. So this way, the life cannot go, especially when I have decided on my own, having a good fight with my mother, that I will not seek anybody's help. So I started looking for options to go to court. So I asked my professor, and I'm a little grateful that my professors in college, they were very helpful to me, and at least in guiding me what court to approach first and then where. So also there was the online lectures were happening, online lectures in the sense that there were guest faculties coming in and they were speaking on various topics of law. And when they when they were introduced, so that everybody was introduced that they practice law in Delhi High Court or Supreme Court of India. So from there I got to know, okay, there's something called as Delhi High Court, something called a Supreme Court, which is the penultimate court, and there's no court above it and everything. So after that, I approached my professors asking, sir, I want to have that practical knowledge also, because theoretical knowledge I'm getting, which is, I think, not sufficient, and I need to understand how the law actually works in court. I told my professor this just having a vague idea, because I had gone to courts with my mother. So I knew that there's something called as courts where you can approach. So I told my professor that I need to go to court so that I can understand how the law is actually practiced in the court of law. So my professor told me that you first go to lower court, and then gradually you go to High Court and Supreme Court. I said, okay. So I first went to Tisari. I very specifically remember that day when I entered Tisari, that I entered from the gate, and there is a lockup, and when you go past the lockup, then there is again 2 wings. So Tisari is divided into 2 wings, civil wing and western wing. Civil wing is civil and western wing is criminal. So I didn't know where to go, and I just entered so instead of going to chambers, I entered the court, and I sat, and I just wanted to view the proceedings. So I remember a judge, he was a session judge, and he asked me, Mr. Counsel, do you have any case, in Hindi obviously, Mr. Counsel, do you have any case here? So I said, no, sir. So I didn't know how to address him. So I addressed him as sir. So no, sir, I don't have any case. I'm a law student. I've just come here to see how the proceedings happen and how the law is actually done in practicality. So he laughed, and then he said, okay, you can sit. So that was the sessions court. So criminal trial usually happens in the session courts. So I sat there for the whole day, knowing how the advocates come, knowing how the clients come, knowing how the police officers, they bring the accused to the court and everything. So then from there, I thought that this is something which I can do. I can argue, I can present my case. and for somebody, and I can do that. So, and I was very happy that I'd gone to court. So that day I remember when I came home and I told mom that Mom, this was the first time I visited courts, and I've loved it. So my mom said, okay. Then again, back to the same life of going to college. And so when actual law subjects like CPC, CRPC, evidence, IPC, all these heavy subjects started, there it had clicked me that I cannot. And by the time all these subjects started, this was clear in my mind that I cannot simply rely upon the class teachings. I have to do self-study also. And by the time I knew also that I need to have 2-3 books opened up in front of me so that to have a comprehensive view of the topic. So topics like murder, topics like culpable homicide, topics like kidnapping, abduction, theft, extortion, everything. So I started reading them. So I opened up a Bail Act. I didn't know what Bail Act was. Somebody told me that, look. In fact, my friend, and he's my best friend up till now, and he told me that there's something called as Bail Act, and you need to open it up because all the sections are listed in the Bail Act. I said, okay. So I bought a universal Bail Act of IPC, and then I opened it up, and I started reading the sections. Then I opened up Ratan Lal, Dheeraj Lal, that was my first book on IPC. I opened up that and then started reading. So I did not have that book, so I went to the library, finally got that book. And mind you, I don't know whether I should say this or not, but that book is still with me. I did not till today, I have not returned it back to my library. And this book, Ratan Lal, Dheeraj Lal, with a black cover, it is still with me. My friend took it, but I told him to give it to me. So that's kept as a souvenir. I've not opened it, obviously, because now I read commentaries and judgments of Supreme Court. But that book is there as a souvenir. Look, this is the book I have not returned to my library. So when I started reading and studying criminal law, and amongst other Transfer of Property Act, arbitration and all, so I started to think that finally there will come a day that I need to, practice. And by the time, obviously, I've visited courts now, so I know what cases come. So I need to finalize an area of law that I will practice in. So in other terms, specialization. I need to do that. So, but again, the question arose that what field to choose. And then one day I came back and I was dejected. And my mom asked me, what happened? Everything good? So I told her that I don't know which field to choose because there are so many laws. Now I cannot practice in all the laws. You cannot be master of everything. So I need to pick up one law where my specialty will lie. So my mom again told me that I'll take you to a lawyer and then you can ask. I said, no, I will not seek anybody's help. I will manage it on my own because up till now I've managed. And this is, I'm talking time where it was starting of third year. It was third year. I was studying CRPC. So finally, I decided that let me read it first. I have time. Let's not rush it up. Let me read it first. So I started reading. And I started opening up other laws also, like Transfer of Property Act, arbitration, civil law, criminal law, commercial law, insurance and banking law. So I outrightly rejected banking and insurance because this was not something which I loved doing. So I studied it. I know what insurance and banking law is, but I did not want to do it as from something from inside that I want to do. So I outrightly said, no, I will not do this. So coming on to civil, so I'm telling you how I started to bifurcate and started to come on to my core field. So finally started reading CPC, and then I thought, civil cases where there will be a lot of property disputes, land disputes will be there, rent disputes will be there. So I said, okay, let me see what civil law is in practicality. And then I went to court. And this time I went to a civil court. And I saw that, advocates are coming, taking adjournments. And, that daily, that lackadaisical, let's take an adjournment, advocate is busy in some other courts, and all these things happen. So I thought, CPC is something which I can do. But the other thing which was in my mind was that I don't have money. and I'm financially not stable. So I need something which can give me regular amount of money. So CPC, civil law is something which I think I don't want to do. I will have a knowledge, but I will not take it as a specialization. I will have it.
There's a small,
Again?
I'm so sorry to disturb you, sir. There's a small audio issue. There's some disturbance coming from your mic. If you could just check that. Maybe
Now it's okay?
you can use your laptop's microphone and not the Bluetooth earphones.
Now is it okay?
No, it's still there. So.
Now is it okay?
Yeah, now it's good.
Ah. So
Thank you so much.
So yeah, no problem. So finally, civil law. I came to civil law, and then I thought, because I needed money also to survive. So finally, I took up civil and I read it. And civil law is still today something which I love to read. So topics like res judicata, res sub judice, and all topics like that. So, but finally, again, the question was nagging me: what subject to choose? And I was reading CRPC and I was reading IPC and evidence and everything. So finally, it clicked. And one night I was studying, and so this habit I'm regularly accused of is I sleep very less. So one night I was, and this habit actually developed when I was in law school. So one night I was studying evidence, I believe. Yes, I was reading evidence, and I was reading privileged communication in evidence, 121 to 2031. And apart from that, I was reading evidence, and I closed evidence, and then I came to CRPC, and I by chance, and it's a matter of chance that when I opened up the Bare Act, it opened up to page where section 154 of CRPC was, which is FIR, and it was by chance, and it was luck, and I had nothing to do with it. So I thought, okay, so this is FIR. I started reading it. So I started reading FIR, and okay, I thought this is something which is interesting. So let me explore it more. So I explored it, and then I went to college. Professors also started teaching CRPC, and then after that IPC, and then after that evidence and everything. So finally, after having gone all through all this, finally I decided that, look, see, criminal law is something I want to do it. And criminal law is the one I would want to study, I would want to practice. And this is my area where whenever I open up a book, time flies. Time flies like anything. And for me, when I'm reading, and believe you me, when I'm reading criminal or when I'm studying any judgment, even 24 hours is short. And I can do it without sleep because my interest lies in it. I am totally and completely engrossed into that judgment, into that section, and how I can do interlinking. So basically, again, then I thought that, okay, criminal law, but what, prosecution or the defense? Then that I didn't apply my mind to, because somebody told me that for prosecution you have to appear for an exam, and then only after giving an exam you become a public prosecutor. It's good that you become a defense lawyer. So I thought, okay, so how interesting will it be that I'll be representing a criminal in the court of law? So finally, I decided that I will not become a public prosecutor. I'll become a defense lawyer. And more so, I thought that, somebody who's languishing in jail, I will ask money and he will give me. So my financial thing will also be resolved. Obviously, but this was not the main issue. But of course, yes, I will not lie. So finally, I decided that, okay, I will become a defense criminal lawyer. So now, decided, done. I approached my professors saying that, because I don't know anybody in criminal law, so can you please recommend any criminal lawyer to me? So they said that, Jai, there are so many criminal lawyers, you can approach anybody and you can learn, because your ultimate aim is to learn. So you can approach anybody and you can learn. So I thought that this is not an appropriate answer, because there are many criminal lawyers. Whom to go? Then finally, I remember that there was this family gathering in my house, and then I suddenly, my Mamaji, my uncle, he asked me that, how is it going? And I told him that going well. Decided that I'll do criminal law. So he then recommended that there's a friend of mine who sits, and who's a criminal lawyer, who sits in Western Wing in Tisazari. Then I outrightly said, no, I will not go approach him. Let me do it on my own. So this bad, you can call it a bad habit or you can call it a good habit. My mom calls it a bad habit, that I'm very adamant that if I've decided that I will do something on my own, heavens will move, but I will not change my decision. I'm very adamant that way. So when I told this to my uncle, then he told my mom that, look, Jay is not listening, and I've recommended a criminal lawyer, but he's saying that he will manage it on his own. So he said, my mom told my brother, not my brother, but her brother, that you cannot do anything about him. He's adamant. He will not listen. So, but by the time all this happened, I knew where he sits in Western Wing. So I started my search process because I was very hungry about how the law, and especially criminal law, is practiced. Because practically, if you will see, you have a life in your hand. So if you will, slightest mistake will land your client into a jail, and for minimum for life or for death or for 10 or 12, 15 or whatever the punishment is given in the IPC. So I thought that this is something which I need to be very careful with. So finally, after doing my own research and contacting my friends and everybody, because I was obviously, it was a law school, and my friends belonged to a family of lawyers. So I asked them, do you know any criminal lawyer? And finally, I came to a conclusion that no, I will not approach anybody because I not sounding it well. So finally, I approached my uncle's friend who sits in Tisazari, a criminal lawyer. So I approached him and I called him first. That, sir, I want to meet you. When can I come? So till date, he is very kind to me. He said, Jai, kabhi bhi aa jao. There's no time limitations for you. So I said, okay, I will come on so and so date and so time to meet you. And I want to take your advice. So he said, okay. So I went and I asked him, sir, that I want to learn the practical aspect of criminal law, because I have decided, and full and final decision has been taken. And this decision was taken by the time I entered. I did not enter fourth, but I was in, I believe, sixth semester starting was, yeah. So seventh or sixth ending or seventh starting. So third or fourth year, I decided that I'll do criminal law. So finally, I approached him and I told him that I want to do criminal law and I want to become a defense criminal lawyer. I don't want to become a public prosecutor. So I want to become a criminal lawyer, and if you can please guide me as to how to go about it. So he said, okay, you can join me. I said, but sir, you know my family, and he is very close to my family also. I told him outrightly that, sir, but you know my family and you will not be very strict with me. You'll be very lenient with me, and I cannot afford any leniency right now because I want to learn. So I'm purposefully emphasizing on this word learn, because I will tell you why learn. I will tell you this over the period of my session. So I want to learn, and you'll be very lenient with me, and I don't want any leniency to be done with me. So I want anybody who will be harsh on me, because I want to learn, because this is something which I want to do, and I will do it for the entirety of my life. So I don't want any leniency, because the base has to be very strong, in my opinion. So he said, don't worry, I'll be very harsh with you, and I'll teach you everything in a very good sense. So, and this was the time I will tell everybody that my financial condition was not well, and it was deteriorating. And there was a time when my parents didn't have food to eat, and finally they kept on saving food so that at least Jay can have it. So I remember that time. So I approached sir again, and then I started sort of not crying actually, but so I had my eyes numb that, sir, this is the situation, I need to learn, so please teach me. So he started smiling, and I asked him that, sir, why are you smiling? So he told me that, Jay, despite this time when you don't have money, your financial condition is very weak, still you're not running after money and you're wanting to learn. This is something which will take you way beyond your imagination. So I touched his feet, and he obviously blessed me, and I touched his feet, and then I said, "Sir, please, I'll start from tomorrow." He said, "Okay, come, and I will start my so-called internship." So so I had now this difficulty of attendance. So how will I manage my attendance? Because if I have to spend time in court learning, how will I manage attendance? So this issue again arose. So finally, I took an off that day. I sat and I locked my room, and I finally decided that only thing that can save you is books. And only thing that can come to your aid is law books and nothing else. Because I was not financially well, didn't have good clothes to wear, nothing at all. Bad condition. So finally, I decided that books is my savior. I will engross and I will give my whole heart to my books, and let me see what happens. And I finally left it to my books and God that I will study, and simultaneously I was seeing my mom and everybody. They were arranging for essential resources so that I can survive. And every day I used to see my friends. They're coming in cars. How college life is. So they're coming in car, and they're having girlfriends and enjoying food in the canteen, whereas I hardly. And I'll tell you, college life was little harsh on me, and I'm thankful to God that it was harsh on me, because the maximum money I had in my wallet was 50 rupees. 50, and nothing more and nothing less. At times it was 25, at times for 20, at times it was 10 also, but maximum I had was 50. Imagine, from South Delhi, because I used to live in South Delhi, so from South Delhi to Noida, 50 rupees somehow. At time I requested my friends to pick me up, but mostly it was taking a metro, getting down at Noida city center, taking that yellow bus, and then again of Noida, and then finally going to the college. So maximum 50 rupees, and somehow I used to manage. There were times when I used to walk also. Anyways, part of my struggle. Finally, I approached one of my professors. No, I did not approach. So what happened? My fees was due, and I completely forgot that my fees was due, and it slipped out of my mind. So finally, a phone call came to my mom that your fees is due and your son has not paid the fees up till now. So she told, and I came back from college, and she told me that, Jai, your fees is due and you haven't paid your fees up till now, so they'll cancel your name. So this is how they used to, take fees from all the students. They'll cancel your name. So I said, no, don't worry, I'll pay it. And by the time the due date was over, so late fine was imposed. So now I don't remember the amount of late fine, but late fine was imposed. So I went to the principal, the dean so-called, and I argued that I cannot pay the late fine because of so-and-so reason. And I took out a flaw, and I took out a mistake on the accountants only. So it is because of them that I got it got delayed in me paying the fee. So I took out that flaw, and then I argued that I cannot pay because it's not my mistake. So I argued, and it was a time of about 2:30 or 2ish in the afternoon that ma'am was available, and I went and I sort of argued this. She patiently gave me an hearing and started smiling and rather laughing. And but I was very seriously, because it was a fine of about 2,000 odd rupees or 3,000 odd rupees. I could hardly manage fees, but on top of it, 2,000, 3,000 was like, I don't know how much amount of money. So my mom told me that, see, Jeff, you can get it waived off. So finally, this happened. This hearing happened, and then ma'am started laughing. So ma'am, I very politely asked that, ma'am, may I know why are you laughing? Then she told me that, Jay, the way you have argued and the way you have presented your case, you will go on to become a very good lawyer. Instead of me saying thank you, obviously I told her thank you afterwards, but instead of me saying thank you, I told ma'am, and I told ma'am that, ma'am, that's okay, but are you waiving off my fees? Yes or no? So she said, fine, yes, I'm waiving off your fees, don't worry. So then I said thank you, and then I went off. Finally, the fee was waived, and then I start. But now again, the difficulty was how will I manage my attendance? And I told ma'am that, ma'am, look, this is my situation, and I need to somehow get a practical aspect of my knowledge. She told me that, Jay, I cannot do anything. This is a policy. We cannot relax it for you, and 75% attendance is must, and you will have to adhere to it. I said, okay. That my real struggle starts actually from there. Every day going to court first, then coming to lectures, knowing what lecture I can skip, doing all those permutations and combinations, that which lecture I will manage on my own, which lecture is important, and how much time should I devote to court. All this kept on happening. And on the other hand, when I was going to Tisazari, sir was very harsh in so much as that he never used to have me lunch. So suppose I'm having lunch, and we both are having, so in his chamber we both are having lunch, and then he should immediately tell me that, Jay, leave it, run, see, do this work, and then come back. So by the time I used to come back, the food was cold, so I used to pack it up, and then I'll have it later. And I'm very thankful to him, because if he would not have been harsh, I wouldn't have reached where I am today, and especially in the field of criminal. So I'm really grateful to him. And it is because of him that I have learned that you have to be, when you're teaching something to somebody, you have to be a little harsh upon them, because if you will be soft and lenient, you will not be able to give your 100%, and you will do injustice with that person whom you are teaching. So finally all this happened, and then mind you, I was scoring well, so finished my law degree with a good score and everything. Then finally, what to do? Mind you, no money up till now. No money earned, only spent. Nothing earned. I could hardly eat food, because every day my mom used to pack tiffin. Someday my friends used to have it. Someday I used to have one chapati, something here and there, but no income, no inflow of income, only outgoing of money. So one day I came back home, and I was tired, and I took a shower, and then I came back, and I just closed my room, and then I thought, yaar, ki kab tak chalega itna? Until where will it go? And nothing is happening. I'm going to court, coming to school, law school, then coming back home, studying. Again, this cycle is happening, but I'm not earning anything out of it. So that day I was dejected, and I started sort of crying also. Ki kab tak chalta rahega aisa? And simultaneously, I used to see my mom. The good thing about my mom is that, I mean, there were really bad times, but she never stopped my needs, in the sense that I wanted money for the books, she gave it. I wanted good pens, because I'm very fond of good pens. So I wanted pens, she gave me money. She never asked me. But I used to realize it on my own that, we are falling short of funds. So finally, I went to my sir, and I told him, sir, ye kaise kab tak chalta rahega, because I will not be able to manage somehow. So his blunt answer was, it's your choice. You can leave it today. You only told me that you want to learn. Now bear with it. I said, okay. Finally, law school finished, got degree. Convocation happened after some time, but finally got my degree, and finally became a lawyer. Again, now I wanted 10,000, I believe, yes, 9,000 something, but 10,000 odd rupees for the enrollment in the Bar Council of Delhi. So finally I told sir that, I said, I want 10,000 rupees. My mom does not have it right now, but I want to get myself enrolled. So he told me that, Jay, I can give it to you, but as a loan, but you have to return it back to me. I'm waiving off the interest. So that is how harsh he was. Don't give me interest, but you have to return it back. I'm giving it as a loan to you. I said, okay, sir. So I took a loan from him, went and got myself enrolled in Bar Council of Delhi, and finally came back to my own set of practice. Started my practice after having my everyday going. I didn't have good white shirt. So then I got to learn from my sir that appearance matters. So you need to have good white shirt and black trousers and black coat. Otherwise, no client will give his case to you. So the band and everything. So I told him that, okay, I'll manage somehow. So finally, I told mom that I need some money and everything. My mom gave it, and for those who know, just when you enter Tisazari, there's a small lady, Thera sa aisa kuch hai, who sells white shirts. So I sort of took one shirt and then managed it somehow. One shirt and then managed it somehow. 50 rupees odd, managed it somehow. Finally, one day came, and I'm really glad, and I remember the exact date and time. One day, it was about 1:29 to be precise, that a client entered the chamber, and I was sitting, and there was this medical dispute, and sir told, after having a good discussion, sir told him, the client, that give him, as in me, 1,500 rupees so that he can manage, he will do your work. So I said, okay. So earlier also I was getting money, but not as something that I can keep it to me. But finally, I got 1,500, and I got 1,500, and the client went up. And then I asked her what is to be done. So he told me that, Jed, this money is for you. Nothing has to be done. Everything is done already. You have to go and take a printout and go and submit that document. Otherwise, this is your money. This is your salary, so called. Keep it. You cannot imagine the extent of my happiness that after about 5 years, or about 5.5, 6 years, I got my first salary of 1,500 rupees. That day, I was so happy that I cannot express my happiness that there was a different charm on my face that I've got 1,500, especially that because I got 1,500 in 500 notes. So there were 3 notes. So the entire metro, I was looking at that note only, that how does this note look? And there was no, I was out of this world, like that feeling. Finally, I went home. And that day, I developed a practice until today, and it will continue, that I developed a practice that whatever I earn, that day also, I gave 750 rupees to my mother, and I kept 750 rupees for myself. Meaning thereby that I always give 50% of whatever I earn to my mother. Till today, and this practice will be with me, that is for sure. Because the extent that my mom has gone to and has sacrificed a lot for me. So she deserves, in fact, all of it, but I need to have something for myself. So I give 50% to it, to my mom. And then she started crying, how Indian mothers are. She started crying. And then finally, we had a good time. And I remember I went to a bakery, I got a cake for myself. And finally, 1,500 rupees. And then after that, every week I used to get 500 odd rupees here and there for some work. And every week, whenever I used to get money, I used to hand it over to my mom. Mom, keep it. I have it, you keep it. Finally, things started to improve. Finally happened, but then I thought I cannot stay here. And I've spent about 1.5 years, I believe. Yeah, 1.5 years or 1 year and some months, 5 odd months, I've spent in Tisazari. Then I thought that I cannot be in Tisazari, because if I would be, then I will be here. I cannot grow. Finally, one day I came to and I was in my not formals but jeans and everything, and I came and sir told me that, Jed, why are you not in formals today? I said, sir, I've come to thank you, and I've come to seek your blessing that I want to now leave Tisazari. I want to move my practice to High Court, because I need to earn. I have understood, you have taught me enough so that I can manage, and let me go to High Court. He said, he never questioned me, said, why don't leave me as here and there? No, never. He said, okay, go. He gave me a good tight hug and blessed me, and then I said, okay, you're free to go. I said, okay. By this time, I had found one advocate who used to practice in Delhi High Court and Supreme Court also. So he was a central government standing counsel in Delhi High Court, as well as the additional advocate general for the government of Haryana in Supreme Court. So he had both the panels. So first, I joined him, and there was a vacancy. So I started going to chambers and I dropping my resume that if there's any vacancy, I want to join. Finally, I somehow, as luck would have it, I had dropped my CV into his chamber, and finally he saw it, called me up. His clerk Vimal called me up, and finally he's now my clerk. But anyways, forget that. There's a vacancy. Please come and join. I said okay. I went, and then finally the salary was decided. I was getting 15,000 rupees a month as every month salary, and I started learning High Court. And after spending about a year or so in High Court, year or so, 2 years in High Court, I finally shifted my practice to Supreme Court. A lot of hard work, sweat to such an extent that I had bought 2 white shirts. One shirt I used to wear in the morning. Second shirt I used to change it after lunch. So pre-lunch, one shirt, and post-lunch, one white shirt I used to change because there was so scorching heat, and usually I sweat a lot, so I should change 2 shirts, and that was the amount of hard work I was doing because I knew that time is short and I have to learn more in less time. So for all this, I have sacrificed, having skipped meals, sleeping less, changing shirts, pre-lunch, post-lunch, and finally, as luck would have it, as God willingly, I went and I reached Supreme Court. Again, when I was with Sir only, so I joined the panel of Additional Advocate General. I was with him, learned how the government functions, learned how the briefing changes. So when you're taking briefings from a government office, how the briefing is to be taken, but when you're taking a briefing from a private client, how the briefing is to be taken. Having learned that, finally decided to go independent on my own. God was kind, 15 reportable judgments till date. So in other words, 15 times I've laid down law for the country. Name being published in the journals. And then from there, my journey to England, UK started. And yes, yeah. So it was good. I'm very happy. I'm very proud that I did not pay attention to money. Did not give any importance to money. Always give importance to studies, to the concepts, and to how the law works. And that actually pays off sooner or later. For me, it was little later, but I don't mind that. But I have thoroughly enjoyed every bit of my journey. So that has been, so if I've just summarized my journey for you. But very good and very interesting. I love every part, every bit of it. Yes.
So thank you so much for this response. I think our audience must be as inspired as I am right now.
Thank you.
So continuing on the theme of starting a career in litigation, prior to going independent, you have worked with a few chambers as a junior associate.
Yeah.
How important do you consider it to find a good mentor in litigation, especially in those early years? And how was your overall experience working in litigation prior to going independent in 2017?
I personally believe that, when I was I was summarizing my entire journey for you. I personally believe that finding somebody who can teach you is very, very, very important, especially when you are a first generation lawyer, because additional tasks are upon you because you don't know. Because my father, my family does not belong to law, though my extended family does, but immediate family does not belong to law. So that additional task is upon you because you don't know court etiquettes. You don't know how to twist the law in your favor. You don't know anything about law. So that additional burden is upon you to learn everything right from the scratch. Because had my father been, or had my mother been, or had any of my family members been from law, so I would have learned all the court craft and everything from them. But me being the first generation lawyer, I had to do it everything from ground up. So finally, when I was looking for an advocate who specializes in criminal law, so I inquired about a lot of advocates. who practices criminal law and everything. Some people advised me that you can directly go to High Court and you can start practice in High Court, where today I see that happening a lot, which is not correct. I will come to it in a while. And I was very sure that I will start my practice from the Tisdari only, or any district court. So it is very important because finding a mentor is very important because whatever he will teach you will stay with you. Whatever my sir has taught me up till today, it is with me. I'm very thankful to him because he has cleared my basics. My founding stones are so solid that I can build anything, whatever I want today. So finding somebody who has good amount of cases, finding somebody who gives you that freedom to go and argue yourself, finding somebody who not only gets you involved in his cases, but simultaneously teaches you also that, look, in such a situation, you can opt for this route also, this method to argue also. Because in law, everything happens in a particular manner. So when you start reading a judgment, you should know what is the ratio of a judgment. You should know what is an obiter of that judgment. Obiter is not applicable, whereas the ratio is now applicable. All these things I did not know. So finding somebody who can teach you not only in academics but also in court, also the court crowd, how do you have to file. I have done physical filing also. Imagine this, in scorching heat, I have been standing outside the filing counters when my clerk or sir's clerk was not available. I have filed it. I was sweating, but still I have done that clerical work also. That is very important. You should know in each and every bit of this law profession, be it filing, be it doing a clerical job, or be it doing a job of an advocate. So finding somebody who teaches you right from the very beginning is very important. And in my personal opinion, and I'm very grateful to God that wherever I've gone, I've been junior associate and everything, wherever I have gone, I have found those advocates who have been very harsh upon me. And I had that zeal of learning. Because had those advocates not been harsh, I wouldn't have learned so much. My base, my founding stones are strong today because of my seniors, whatever they have taught me. So finding somebody who is good is very important. So you have to be very pick and choosy. I was very pick and choose. That I will not join this, I will join this. I will not do this, I will do this. I apply my mind, and after applying my mind, I always come to a conclusion that what is right and what is wrong. And same I did when I had this task of finding a mentor for me who can teach me. So that is very, very important. Some bit of it, rather everything, has if I say today that my name has been reported 15 times in Supreme Court journals and everything, is because what they have taught me. My base is very strong. If today at 3 o'clock at night, if you will wake me up from my sleep and tell me that, Jai, what is this case and what is the landmark judgment on this case, I will tell you immediately. Why? Because those nuances, those intricacies of law, that only that person will be able to tell you who has a good amount of experience in this field. I've seen seniors, and I've obviously not negatively commenting on anybody, but I've seen seniors not teaching, but only taking out work and paying. I've seen that. And I now have come to a conclusion that I've been very grateful that you need to find somebody who not only will teach you the academic portion of law, but also the practical aspects of it. So finding somebody is very, very important, especially in the field of law, and especially in criminal law, because mostly the burden is upon the defense to prove the innocence. So very, very important. And that has helped me in my practice when I've gone independent. Finding somebody, yes. So in very succinctly answering, finding somebody who teaches you is very, very important. And you have to be very pick and choosy in whom you find, because sort of there's a bit of him in you. So harshness in me, if you say, is because of my sir. Because whatever I used to, I have this habit that before I speak less, but I analyze more. This habit I didn't have before. This habit, obviously, that was developed by my professors in England also, but the seed was sown by my sir when I was practicing in Zari. So he used to keep quiet when I used to say. So he used to give me the opportunity to say my bit and then tell me whether this is right or whether this is wrong. So that's finding that senior, you have to be very pick and choose. I mean, not everybody will be able to do this. Yeah.
Right. For our next question, you took a giant leap of going independent in 2017. Could you walk us through that rather difficult phase where you decided to set up your own practice and the excitement and angst that comes with going independent as a young litigator? Of course, you did touch upon this in your introduction, but I'm sure our audience would like to know each and every single detail.
Briefless lawyer. I was a briefless lawyer. People knew me because I was practicing, but as a junior associate, they used to know me because I used to go and brief. So I've briefed Kapil Sibal, sir, and I've briefed all the good lawyers, and I've argued with them. I've argued against them. So, but now in 2017 and 2018 starting, when I decided that I will go independent now, because I was now tired of getting that 15,000 odd rupees every month, because as the time grows, your needs, it grows, your things, expenses grows. So 15,000 was not being apt. I will not lie, only 15,000 was not that I was getting. Here and there, I got some private cases. Sir only gave it to me, and then I earned 10,000 odd rupees here and there. And so all this was happening. So every month I used to get about 20, 25,000, 30,000, very grateful, 30,000 rupees. But on an average, it was 15,000 only. In 2017 and on 2018 beginning, I decided that enough. I've learnt. I know everything now. I can argue well. And I've briefed. Most importantly, I've briefed. So I've briefed current Solicitor General, because he was then the additional Solicitor General. But I've briefed the Solicitor General also. And I've briefed all the good lawyers independently. So I knew somewhere down the line that I can manage it on my own now. But again, that thing was nagging me, that where will I get cases from? Because I don't have cases with me. So I said, but okay, you need to take those risks, calculative risks, I would say, if you have to do something big in life. So I asked my mom, what should I do? Should I leave? Do we have enough money with us now? My mom told me after doing maths that we have enough to survive. I said, okay. So I could have continued, but my mom told me that, see if you can continue for some time also, so that we can have enough. But I said, no, we have enough so that I can survive. That is okay. Let me go independent, because if today I will not go independent, I will have that bent every now and then. I have to approach my sir and ask for his permission whether I can go and argue this case, or whether I can file this affidavit or anything. So I am that sort of an advocate who hates taking orders from anybody. If somebody orders me, I don't like it. So I thought, this is enough. I should go independent. The day I got independent, it was Thursday. And yes, it was Thursday. And I decided that I'll go independent. I left the office and I touched sir's feet and took his blessing, and finally left. Briefless lawyer. No brief at all. Nothing. I had nothing. Zero. And this period of being a briefless lawyer continued for 1.5 months. Every day I used to go to court in this anticipation that I will get a case. Every day I used to approach my seniors that, sir, koi case hai to de do mujhko, please, I need to argue any case, whatever, be it one small application, but at least give something to me. Nothing was given. Briefless lawyer. Finally, when I was in college, I did my internship. I had taken a pro bono case. So I had helped a client and I did not take money from him. So finally, one fine day, I was sitting in Saket Court, if I'm not wrong. Yes, I was sitting in Saket Court, and somehow I sort of came out of that court, and a client sort of kept his hand on my shoulder from behind. So I turned, and he said, "Namaste, Vakil Saab," and I couldn't remember him one shot, but he remembered me, and he told me that, sir, my friend has a case. It was a matrimonial dispute. To be more precise, it was a mutual divorce on 13B. So there's a case. I want you to do it for me. So I said, tell me, give me the file and everything, brief me. I'll do it for you. So he said, it is not my case, it is my friend's case. But I want that you should do it for us, and I will give you 10,000 rupees as a fees. I said, okay, I will do it. Because I agreed for 10,000 because after having spent almost 1.5 months without having a brief, 10,000 was like 1 lakh for me. So I took it, went, did the case. So finally from there, again, that case got over. But I inculcated this habit, and this I would tell, in fact, rather hugely recommend every newly enrolled lawyer or law students, whoever are listening and seeing me, is even if you don't have case, go sit in the court. Go sit in the court, because law is nothing as compared to books. Law is nothing as compared to you arguing in the court, but law is everything about learning the court craft. Why I have succeeded in such a short period of time is because when I did not have any case, I used to go to court, sit, look at what the judges are saying, look at what judges are anticipating, look at what in a brief. So if you are arguing a case in a Supreme Court on Mondays and Fridays, you hardly get time because those are miscellaneous days. So you hardly get 5 word. If you get 5 minutes, that means you're very lucky. Otherwise, you would not get 5 minutes. Maximum you will get is 1 minute here and there. 5 minutes or 10 minutes you will get only when some very good senior lawyer like Mukul Rohgi or Kapil Sibal and all these people are appearing. Otherwise, if you're a normal lawyer, you will not get 5 minutes. 1 minute here and there and your case is dismissed. Mostly it is dismissed. If you are able to convince the judge, then he will admit your case, issue notice. I was again thankful because the time when I did not have any brief, and after the time when this case got over, in which I got 10,000 rupees, I used to go to court and I used to sit, because I now decided that I will finally practice law in the Supreme Court. That I will make Supreme Court as my principal seat of practice. I will go to the High Court, I'll go to the district courts, but essentially I will be practicing law in the Supreme Court, because I love being in that atmosphere where you are arguing. I'll tell you one instance where you're arguing a case and you know that judge is in your favor. Suddenly a lawyer comes and your case is dismissed. So it keeps you on your feet. I'll share this instance with you in a short while. But learning the court craft is very, very important. And it is hugely recommended. It was recommended by my seniors. I would recommend the same, because it is not a matter of chance. Of course, my academic knowledge and everything is there, but it is not a matter of chance that I've got 15 reportable judgments in my name. It is because I know the court craft. It is because I know if I'm arguing in front of judge number X, this should be my way of arguments. If I'm arguing in front of judge number Y, this should be my course of arguments, because every judge is different. Every judge would want something different, something unique out of your brief. The most, I don't know whether I should say this, most toughest judge to convince is Justice Nariman. This is going to Nariman. The most toughest judge to convince. He's never convinced. So you have to convince him. So he's the most toughest judge. So I then decided that the days, till today, obviously before the pandemic, before the pandemic, there were days when I used to get free very soon. I used to go and sit in his court. And I used to see, what does he wants? What does he wants? What does he requires from an advocate to speak? And then he will issue notice. And what things niggle him? What things he appreciates? So the so-called court craft, or the mentality, what judge wants out of you is very, very important. And that is why internships are important. And everybody should do it, and when you're doing internships, don't focus on going to court. Don't do it in a very mechanical way, that you're going to court as a matter of, you have to do internship because your college requires a particular certificate. Don't do it for that. Do it because your entire life depends upon it. And I'm telling you, this has been my experience. The highest paid so-called taxpayers are advocates. Highest taxpayers are advocates. And I have been told this, I have cross-checked it, and that is true. One High Court judge, obviously I will not name him, he's my mother's colleague. He told me, and I went to see him, and this is very recent, I believe previous month. So he told me, and I cross-checked it. The highest taxpayers are lawyers. You will only earn good when you know what to argue, when to argue. And that too, it is not something which is done as a blanket thing, that one style of argument will apply upon all the judges. Never. It varies. Judge number X would want this, judge number Y would want this. So that varies. So that is important. And all these things were taught by my seniors. So choosing somebody who teaches you all this, apart from the litigation, is very, very important. In my personal experience, yes, very important.
Thank you so much for your response, sir. So you have recently completed a Masters of Law, specializing in Criminology and Criminal Justice from the Queen's University, Belfast, United Kingdom. What motivated you to pursue an LLM after already setting up a rather successful independent practice? And also, what drew you to the field of criminology and criminal justice?
What drew me, answering your second part of the question first, what drew me to the field of criminology, I believe I have made it amply clear that I wanted to do criminal law right from the very beginning. I wanted to do specialization in it, in the sense I wanted to practice only criminal. Now I've diversified also, so I take up all sort of cases, but my specialty lies in criminal. So from the college days, when I had this thought in my process that there are so many laws, like I was telling you earlier also, so I chose criminal. So decided finally that I will do criminal. It was I was in before I say this, if you must have noticed, all top lawyers of this country, if you will see, they have gone abroad, most specifically United Kingdom, and they have done their degrees. Exception always being Justice Nariman went to Harvard, which is in the United States, but mostly they all go to United Kingdom to learn. With God's grace, when I started practicing in Supreme Court, my fees took a shot. I started start charging in lakhs and everything. So finally, I was talking to somebody, and then this topic of going abroad and studying arose. And finally, obviously the conversation got over, and then when I was driving back home, I thought that I should do something of this sort. that I want to upgrade myself, because law is all about upgrading yourself. Every day, it's a dynamic field and you have to upgrade every day. So, and obviously because I'm very intimidated, obviously in a positive sense, from the Britishers, because the way they can teach you, nobody else can. And this has been my firm belief, and I've seen it, and this has been my firm belief. The way they can teach, nobody else can. So I had this dream of going to England to study. So I used to, and there were days at nights I used to get dreams that how will it be that I will sit in the plane and finally I'm landing in the United Kingdom and surrounding with the Britishers and talking in English and stuff like that. So all this dream was there, but unfortunately I didn't have resources, did not have money. All this started in 2014. I started dreaming of going to England. Somehow resources was not there, and that was the time when I stepped Supreme Court and all these things were happening. So I started jotting. So I talked to my mom and said, finally my mom told me that you can take a loan and then you can go. So, but I was not in favor of taking loan. So I decided I'll earn myself and then I'll go. I estimated whatever the cost was, and finally so my target was that I have to have this much plus obviously extra living and all this, because England is very expensive to live. So all these costs, I knew my budget, so-called. So I started earning. The reason why I decided to halt my practice and then going to England, everybody said don't go, because you have just started to earn. People have started to recognize you. Every day you have to go to court, because only then will the judge recognizes you. Justice Thakur, he recognizes me, because it was in open court when he was the Chief Justice of India. He was in open court, in the Chief Court. That's the biggest court. I mean, not because it is the Chief Justice of India's court, but because of the length and breadth wise also it's the biggest court. In the open court, he said that, Mr. Counsel, Mr. Wadhwa, it is so good, and I'm quoting the exact wordings, it is so good to see young lawyers like you arguing so fearlessly. And I was arguing next to Kapil Sibal, and arguing so fearlessly and putting across your point. And we need lawyers like you to come and to argue before us, young lawyers like you to come and argue before us. Obviously, my case was dismissed, because obviously when you're arguing against Kapil Sibal, so the room of error is very less. Somehow it was dismissed, but I got this comment. Then I thought that I need to upgrade myself. I spoke to a couple of people about me going to England, and mostly all of it said no. I spoke to my friend, he said, you should, but what will you do about the financials? I said, finances I will manage, but I have to go. Finally, I took this decision that let me halt my practice. I have this much amount of knowledge that I will again start, but let me go to England first. Let me learn, because that zeal of learning is with me till today. I learn every day, and as a lawyer, I don't know whether I should say this right at this moment, but since it has come to my mind, I will say this. I see people adding a Supreme Court of India to their name like it is their house address, if I may use this word, and pardon me for it, please. It is not correct. I have seen, with all due respect and regards, I have seen advocates affixing Supreme Court of India when their knowledge is not good. And that is very wrong, because Supreme Court of India is a pious institution and it's the only biggest court in the country. If you are saying that you belong there or you practice law there, you have to be up to that standard. And when I use the word standard, I will now quote an incident to you. It was in court number 5 of Supreme Court. I was arguing a case, and the client was very rich. The client hired me along with 2 more senior advocates to represent his case. On the other side, there were 3 senior advocates. 2 were present when I was arguing on my client's behalf, when I was arguing. And when I finished my arguments, I was about to sit, or I probably sat, and now it was a turn of the other side to argue. I will say this here, that my case was very strong. Of course, it had a loophole in it, and I was trying to cover it up. But it had a loophole, but loophole means loophole, but it was very strong. I finished my arguments and I sat. So, for those of you who have entered Supreme Court premises, so there is a curtain. There's a door, and then there's a curtain. You open the door, you remove the curtain, and then you enter. So there's a step, and then you enter. Whenever that door is opened and the curtain is moved, there's a sort of air which comes from outside to it. So when the door was opened, and the door was opened in a very hasty manner, so sort of air came and sort of touched me, and I sort of moved my head, and I saw Mr. Mukul Rohatgi entering. And I look up to him, and for those of you who know how he argues, he is brilliant. He is brilliant when he argues. He entered, and believe you me, he entered precisely 5 minutes. He argued precisely 5 minutes, and the case was dismissed. My case was dismissed. The judge did not even give me even one moment or one chance to explain what he's saying was not correct and what I am saying is correct. Not even one chance was given. And mind you, when he was doing that, he was empty-handed. He did not have any file, nothing, no brief, nothing, no paper, no points, nothing. This is, and I proudly say, I've never met him, but I admire him. This is when I say that he says that he belongs, or he's a Supreme Court lawyer, or whatever he will say. This is what I mean when I say that somebody who practices law in Supreme Court, this should be the amount, this should be the level at which you should argue, because there's no court above Supreme Court. So that should be the level of arguments, and that should be your level to argue, and especially when you're arguing in Supreme Court. Anyways, coming back, I was very intrigued and I was very mesmerized by the way he was doing it. So finally, I decided that I need to have more clarity on law, and I have learnt everything that is to learn in India. But let me go and let me get that exposure, so-called, of the UK universities. Finally, everything was said and done. I went to England, United Kingdom, more specifically Northern Ireland. I went there. I was there in England for about 1.5 years, 2 years. Yes, 1.5 or 2 years I was in England. Northern Ireland, and then of course England. Because and mind you, getting admissions into UK universities is not a piece of cake. They're very particular on your application forms, very particular on your statement of object, statement of purpose, so-called, SOP you call it. So very particular on your statement of purpose, very particular on your CV. It should be 2 pages, and your statement of purpose should be very well written, and dot, comma, all the grammatical mistakes. They're very, very particular on this. Finally, I got rejected once in 2017, I believe, or 2018. It was 2018. Yes, I got rejected because I applied to University of Oxford and to Queen's University Belfast. I applied, but my application got rejected. Finally, I approached somebody and I got to know what is the requirement of the universities, taking admission, because they don't take admission just like that. So finally, my mistakes were told to me, applied it again, simultaneously in one go, got approved on scholarship in Queen's and in University of Oxford. University of Oxford is still left because of this pandemic. Queen's I have completed my post-graduation. It was very good. You learn things. If I may put it very succinctly, your horizons are broadened. There are things which you don't know of a particular topic and you get to know. So that gives you an edge. You see, practice, you can drop and you can pick it up. So my clients whom I was representing before leaving for United Kingdom, I told them I'm leaving and I gave those cases to my colleagues. But when I came back, those cases have come back to me. So clients will not go anywhere because clients know each and every advocate's worth. So kaun sa acha hai, kaun sa bura hai, the client knows already. You have to, as an advocate, upgrade yourself. And when I talk about upgradation, I don't think any country better than United Kingdom to go and to learn, because the way they teach you, I don't think so anybody can teach. So the method, the way, everything, that is marvelous. That is, breathtaking, fantastic. And that has helped me. And I've come back, and that is now helping me in my practice. Because now I can think of 10 different ways to argue one single point. And that also I learned when I did that open moot in England, where I was arguing against Oxford and Cambridge and London School of Economics. But succinctly, it broadens your horizons, no doubt about that.
Right. Thank you so much for that, sir. So continuing on the theme of pursuing a master's and a master's like such as yours, how important would you consider a master's to be for setting up a successful practice like yours? And do you think it has as major an effect on litigation as it may on employment opportunities like academics or more specialized practice areas?
You see, having a master's is not important for litigation. Let me be very clear on that at the very beginning. You just need a BLLB degree, that is sufficient, and then you practice law. Start going to court, start practicing law. That is not important. I did it because I wanted to, as I've told you earlier, I wanted to broaden my horizons, and that is why master's is important. You can do master's in India, but again, you've already done your undergrad from India, and doing it again from India is, not that Indian universities are bad, but if you have an opportunity to go abroad and then study from different people, different set of people, that is very important, and it will help you. It will help you not only academic wise, but it will help you when you are practicing also. So the way of arguments, my way of I can see my way of speaking or my way of arguing a point prior to me going to United Kingdom has taken 360 degrees turn. Today, if I argue a point, that is a complete change. That is a complete change because they have those tools. They have those tools because they can tools to teach you how to do a particular task, because there you will not find a professor teaching criminology is also teaching property law. All the professors are different, and you are being taught by the top professors of that particular university. Queen's, I was very fortunate to get a scholarship and get into Queen's because that's the oldest university, and I believe in the entire United Kingdom it comes on third or fourth number when it comes to law, obviously after Oxford and Cambridge. So doing masters, first of all, not important for litigation, but very important for your growth. You grow, automatically your clientage will grow, automatically your cases will grow, because when I was referring to that time when did not have any brief, I used to go and sit in the court. One fine day, I was picked up and I was made, I was given a responsibility by a court, and I had to do that responsibility, and for that I was paid 50,000 rupees. So point is that with masters, not specifically, I would not confine it to masters, but going abroad, learning it it is very important. I firmly believe it is very, very important. If you have an opportunity, you should 100% go, because it will increase your horizons, and it will give you those extra things which you require to excel in this field. Because you see, practice everybody does. I am practicing, you are practicing. There are thousands every year. Universities are flushing out lawyers like anything. Everybody is practicing. What is so special in you that client will come to you? Number one. Number two, will give you that fees which you are asking for. So you should know that all those things. So all those things, I believe, they're better learned, or they are, they're in the sense that more polished when you. Because I was polished when I studied. So polishedness is what you want. Polishedness is all what you require, because having that aura, or having that personality, or have, more importantly, that law knowledge to sum up a very difficult point in a very succinct manner and convey it. Because no matter how much you read extra books, no matter how much you read novels, anything you read, no matter how much you read commentaries, what is important is, do you have the ability to put across your point in a very simple manner? That simplicity in putting across your point, no matter how difficult the topic is, that is what you learn in England. And that is why it is not important, but yes, if you give it an opportunity, you should grab it with both hands.
Right, sir. So you have discussed in detail your experience of getting your master's from one of the most prestigious and oldest universities in the UK. Could you compare it to the legal education in India?
Yes, completely different, 360 degrees.
Right.
There, we are obviously aware of how the Indian universities teach, so I will not go on that. How the universities in United Kingdom teach you is very simple, rather very important. I'll give you my personal example. So they will not come and start writing on a whiteboard, and they will just finish up their work and go. They will not do that. I have done, I believe, 25 assessments in 1.5 years. Plus, I've done 5 assignments, plus my one thesis that I've written of 18,500 words. When they give you a topic, so for example, they have taught you a topic. After teaching you a topic, they will give you an assignment on that topic. So they have taught you cluster of topics. So for example, they have taught you 5 topics. After teaching 5 topics, they will give you an assignment, and that will not be marked, but that is important for you to do. Those will not be a theoretical questions. Those will be a practical based questions, because they will instigate you to open up LexisNexis and go there, find relevant case laws, and then apply those case laws onto the facts of your case, and then write what you believe. So sort of a moot court, mini moot court in the assignments. And that is how you learn. And that is how you don't learn books. You don't have to memorize the books. You don't have to do rote learning. And this is what I've seen. In India, you do rote learning. There you don't do rote learning. Or if you're in India, you don't do rote learning, that is different. But there you don't do. There the professors will, right from the very beginning, they will teach you how to apply it. So they will teach you a concept, they will take up a practical case, explain it to you, and then give you a question, tell you, open up case, and they will give you plethora of cases. Open it up, see which case is matching to yours, see whether you can apply it, and if you can, then reasons why you can apply it. So they basically instigate you, rather push you to apply your own mind, which I believe is very, very important, because law is not something which is already written. Law changes every day, and law changes to the needs of the society. Adultery was law before 2018. After Joseph Ryan versus Union of India, adultery is no longer the law. Why? Changing needs of the society. Every day law is changing. You have to apply your own mind and then tell why this particular law should be applicable or why this particular law should not be applicable into your particular case. So yes, a huge difference. I would recommend going and learning, as a matter of fact, because I don't think so. And I've been to universities, I've studied from one law university. I don't think so that teaching pattern is being taught, and that is where the mistake lies. If I can put forward my point in a very simple manner, instead of the professors, instead of we teaching our students to do theory, we should, and instead of keeping a moot court specifically, we should rather now focus on giving our students opportunity and framing the questions in such a manner that they read judgments. Law students in university, they don't have a habit of reading judgments, because they are never taught how to read judgments. In England, they teach you to read judgments only, because you have to solve questions only upon the basis of judgment. And this is one change I think our universities, Indian universities, should do. They should include that practical aspect into the theory and do it mix of theory and practical aspect of judgments. So all these things you learn. So so I believe this is my point of view. You should do it, and it's completely important.
Right. So you mentioned how when you were studying in the UK for your masters, the assignments that you got were more application based, more real, more delved into reality, somewhat like a moot court.
Yes.
So following on upon that theme, you've actively taken part in several moot court activities, such as actively taken part in a lot of co-curricular activities. Such as moots. You even stood as runners-up in the open moot court competition held at Queen's University, Belfast, where you defeated prestigious universities like the London School of Economics, Oxford University, and many more. How important would you characterize participation in such activities as, in the view of students developing skills that prove to be very important in their legal careers and even beyond that?
Good question. Yes, very important. Debates, moot courts, very important. Because what is a moot court? It's a dummy court. It's a dummy court. Secondly, what do you do? So there are two speakers and one researcher. You are taught, if at all you are taught, and not judged only, you are taught how to practically apply and save your client. Practically apply what? The concepts of law. So what I teach today, as in murder, that you have to apply it practically. So moots are very important, number one. And I strongly recommend everybody in law school to do moot courts as much as you can, do debates as much as you can. Because that not only, takes out that hitch in you. Because somebody of us, like I tell you my personal example, I had the stage fear. Many of us do have. Today I don't. For the sole reason, obviously, because I'm also practicing law, so forget that. But at that point of time, I had that stage fear. The more you do moot courts, the more that stage fear will go. The more you do debates, the more you know how to articulate your language. Because law is not your day-to-day informal language. Law is very formal language. You should know how to do it, how to speak that language. So yes, moot courts are very important. I'll give you my personal experience of me doing that moot court in England. One fine day, I was sitting in the common room and I was having a cup of coffee, and suddenly I got a notification on my phone saying that there's an open moot which is being held at Queen's, obviously, University, and they're inviting applications. Along, if you are single, then they will allocate one partner to you. But if you already have a partner, then you can come in as a team. So I approached my friend. He was an undergrad, and he knew me. So I approached him that so and so competition is being held. Would you like to participate? He readily agreed. Yes, I will participate. The problem was on law of contracts. Now, law of contract was not like what law of contract is in India. So there are some tweakings there. Though mostly it is the same, but tweakings are there. So I knew that it was on law of contracts, and finally I decided that I will do it. I was a bit scared because all these prestigious universities were there, and I had probably, I had that confidence, but I thought, am I equipped enough to argue somebody next to somebody who is, hailing from Oxford and Cambridge and Warwick or all these big universities. So finally, I spoke to my mother and I told her that such and such opportunity has come. Should I do it? So she outrightly said, go for it. Irrespective of you winning or losing, just go for it. I said, okay. So my mom says, do it. Whatever opportunity you get, you do it. But I apply my mind and I know whether I should do it or not. But I finally applied my mind and I finally decided I'll do it. Applied and finally entered the moot court. But before entering the moot court, starting with the practice, did not know how the people or how the barristers argue. Opened up YouTube, looked at few videos of how barristers argue, because way of arguing in India is completely different from way of arguing in England. So opened up few YouTube videos, saw how barristers argue and everything. Finally, I was equipped, did my research, thorough research on a point, and finally I entered moot court. If I can put it this way, amazing experience. I mean, if I'm given an opportunity again, I would grab it with both hands, because the moot court, it was actual court there, and one barrister, in fact, two barristers, and one Queen's Counsel came to judge. Fortunate enough I was that I kept on beating teams, and I would not call it beating, but somebody loses, somebody wins. More important is you learn. So finally defeated and then move ahead. Finally, in the finals, I lost because on a very, very non-technical point, which I don't think so I should have. But anyways, I've lost. What I've gained is that I've made friends from different universities. So today I have friends with Warwick. I have London School of Economics, from Durham, from Oxford. I have friends because those who participated, they came forward and congratulated me on the way of arguing, the way I argued. So that has now, the way of argument has now inculcated in me. So I will use that when I'm actually practicing, when I'm actually arguing in actual court. So I will use that. And you never know if that might come and help me in winning a case for my client. So all these extracurricular activities like moot courts and debates and everything, very, very important. Very important. And I highly recommend all the law students should do it. Because this is actually, apart from, because obviously you are still a law student, and when you're doing internships, obviously you will not get an opportunity to argue in the real court. So this is a good way of arguing, because obviously, yes, you're doing arguments, but you're in the process learning how to do research, how to find that suitable case which actually applies to your case, or if not completely applicable, what point needs to be picked up from a particular case and applied to your case, even though that point is not, that entire case is not applicable to yours. So research is also an art. I did, and research is is an art, but it takes a lot of your time. You should devote it, and research is something which you should do, and that teaches you how to do research in actual life when you will become actual lawyers. So you get a sort of taste of it when you do a moot court. So yes, very, very important.
So internships during law school are mandated by the Bar Council of India.
Yeah.
What would you consider some essentials to keep in mind while applying for internships? And how can students get the best out of an internship they have been accepted into? What has been your experience in the same?
Internship, very important, yes. Now, I am not in, personally speaking, I'm not in favor of interning in a law firm. These days, I hear a lot of people saying that I work in so and so, I'm interning in so and so law firm, Luthras and Luthras, or Amach and Mangaldas, so whatever, they're big law firms, AZB and everything. In my personal belief, internships are, you don't do internships just to submit a certificate to your university that, look, I've done an internship, now give me certain amount of marks allocated. Internships, mind you, will build your base, that will lay down your founding stones. The solid it is, the better it will be for you in the actual long run. I recommend that internships should be done in a court with a lawyer, not in a law firm. For the sole reason, and I'll justify why I say this, is because in a law firm you are taught how to become a paralegal, or if not paralegal, then how to do research, and you do a research and your senior will go and argue. How to do research, little bit of help here and there you get, but that actual court environment you don't get. In internships, every day you're going to court, every day you are learning not only how to do research, not only how to argue, pardon me, not only how to see how your senior argues, but if you're not arguing, still you are taking inputs that, if this is the point that needs to be taken care of while so and so point is being argued. So you learn practically. So I highly recommend that internships are very important, especially when you're interning with a lawyer and not in a law firm. And as to your question of how to find a suitable lawyer to intern under, well, that depends. That depends on you. First of all, that depends on what field have you chosen. Because initial years, I always tell this to everybody, in the initial years, you can do generalized internships. Like you can do internship with a criminal lawyer, with a civil lawyer, with a rent lawyer, with a property, or with commercial dispute, anything. In a firm also you can do if you want. But there will come a time that you need to get out of this so-called fancy world of, I'm interning in Amach and Mangaldas, and I am interning in Shahadul Amach and Mangaldas or AZB or so and so law firms, and get into an actual practice in court. So finding somebody, and I told you that I was very pick and choose with the lawyer I want to be with. So everybody, because you see, you don't know how a lawyer is. For every intern, his senior is the best in the world. So, but actually you have to see and you have to analyze, and that is where your analytical ability will come into picture. You have to see whether this senior is actually giving me that much amount of freedom to learn on my own, whether that senior is giving me an opportunity not only in court room but academic wise also is teaching me the nuances. That is very important. How to, most importantly, it is how to deal. Because when you're interning, you sit with your senior while your senior is taking a briefing. So you learn in what posture you have to sit, what points you have to note, and everything. So finding somebody who teaches you all this is very, very important. So yes, internships are very important. Yes.
So you are known to give free legal counsel to those pursuing justice. What has been your experience as a pro bono lawyer?
It actually saved my life. I've told you earlier also. There was a time when I got independent in 2017, and I was a briefless lawyer. One fine day, I was sitting in Saket Court, a client came, put his hand on my shoulder, and mind you, that client I did a free pro bono case for. Didn't took any money because that client was actually not well, financially not well. So I knew this. So finally, I took. One thing I want to tell everybody is, irrespective of the fact that you're doing a case and charging for it, or irrespective of the case, irrespective of the fact that you're doing it pro bono, do it with the same enthusiasm, do it with the same passion, because you never know when a client whom you had dealt with as a pro bono might bring you a case for which you can charge in lakhs or in thousands. So pro bono experience, at least in my case, has been very good. I mean, if it would not have been for that pro bono case, I don't know for how long I would have been a briefless lawyer. But yes, pro bono thing you should do because word of mouth spreads. Because our field is all about word of mouth. So if you tell that I am good, and you tell to your friend that look, Jai Wadhwa is very good when it comes to litigation, especially when it comes to criminal law, that word of mouth spreads. So your friend will tell her friend or his friend, and similarly that chain reaction will go. So that same happened with me in pro bono. So that was pro bono experience was also very good, and I never took it as a case where I'm doing it free. I took it as an opportunity to learn, but more importantly to get justice for my client. And finally, I was succeeded, and that left a mark on my client. Finally, one fine day, he brought me a client, and similarly, that chain is now going. Yeah.
Right. So, sir, our next question is that a lot of our audience members that is present today know you as a teacher and, more importantly, as a mentor. You've been coaching students to clear law school entrances for a number of years now. Have you ever considered making a full-time switch into the field of legal education?
No. That is not my calling. I teach or I mentor somebody out of my own passion. It's not that it is not my calling. My calling is advocacy. My calling is advocacy because there came a time when I thought of switching it, but then I sort of stopped, introspected that whether this is something I want to do as a passion or I want to do it for a lifetime. Because with me it is that if I'm doing this live, it is out of my complete curiosity. I'm giving my 2000% to it. So I do it with full passion. Even if I'm conducting a webinar or a workshop or anything, I do it with full passion. But there comes a time when you have to distinguish whether you want to make your passion into something which you want to do lifetime, or you want to keep it only as a passion. I have kept mentoring, I have kept these workshops, I have kept teaching as my passion, that I want to do it, I want to educate it, because I personally believe that law students today, they're not being equipped with the necessary tools to interpret the law. And it was very shocking to me when I asked somebody, what is a cause of action? What is a cause of action is something which a law student should know. A first semester student should know. And I asked this, not name, but third, fourth year students don't know this. And I don't blame them because they don't, because they're never taught. So I took it upon myself that, okay, forget what is happening. Let me educate. Let me give all those nuances, all those, those critical points. That is why all the workshops and all the webinars that I conduct, I always try to take all my audience from the ground up. Number one, and number two, I don't give them theory. I give them practical as well. So they should know. Most recently, I'll give you an example. Most recently, I held this webinar on Anticipatory Bill, 438 CRPC. I never gave them, obviously, I have to give theory. But apart from theory, I made it a point that I will give them practical also. What in practicality happens in courts when it comes to anticipatory bail. So I have took it upon myself to fill that void, but yeah, never. I don't want to do it as a full-time thing. My calling lies in advocacy. Because the charm is, if I may say this, the charm is there because you enter, you argue, and you win. That is a bliss. That is a bliss. So yes, passion is different from bliss. So I go for bliss. Yeah.
So I think we're all very grateful that you took time out of your life to educate the legal community and give back to the students.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So, sir, a lot of law schools focus on sharing theoretical knowledge, unlike you, rather than sharing more practical aspects of the law with the students. Have you noticed this lacuna in legal education during your days as a student? And if yes, how did you learn about these subjects practically?
Yes. So this I got to know from the very beginning that the professors are not teaching me what happens in the actual courtroom. They're only theory. It is only theory. And in exams, a question comes, you write theory, you cite a particular judgment, you're given marks. Finally, at the end of 5 years, you're given a degree. It is when I entered court and I did internships that I got to know that it is how you apply what you learn. So, take an example of anticipatory bail. Theory is, okay, you know what anticipatory bail is, or you know what interim anticipatory bail is. That is mentioned in clause 1 of 438, interim anticipatory bail. But in actuality, whether interim anticipatory bail is granted to you or not, how will you know? In case of P. Chidambaram, if I take an example, in case of P. Chidambaram, why they were running heavens to earth? Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, Mr. Salman Khurshid and Mr. Kapil Sibal, why were they running heavens to earth? They were running for interim anticipatory bail, and they were never granted. And that is why Enforcement Directorate and the CBI arrested Mr. P. Chidambaram from his house in Jorbagh. Now, and interim anticipatory bail is written in 438. That is theory. In actuality, whether interim anticipatory bail is granted or not, who will tell? And that is where I think that all the law students should know that, look, this is the concept, this is the theory, but in actuality, look, this is how it is applied. So yes, practical is very, very important. And whenever I do any webinar or I do any workshop, I make it a point that I include either my personal experience or any practical scenario into it so that I can educate my audience that, look, in practical also, this is how it is done. So they are gaining not only theoretical knowledge, but also practical knowledge, which is very essential in what I have seen in my personal opinion. Yes, very, very important. Theory is not sufficient.
Right. Thank you so much for that answer, sir. So, taking a slight different path outside of law and legal education to something that all of us have been facing together as well, mankind. That is, the past year has been quite tough on everyone owing to the pandemic. A lot of people have picked up new hobbies, developed interests, swimming, cooking, planting, and whatnot. Swimming is not really enough. So you have been quite active and you've been hosting webinars and a number of academic workshops. So what inspired you to begin this and continue giving back to your students as the great mentorship that you provide them?
When I came back from England, United Kingdom, I was training my students to get into national universities, and I've almost all the college. I'm very proud to say that all my students are almost, you will find it in almost all the universities in India. So when I came back, I obviously interacted with my students that I've come back and how are you and everything. Though not that I was not interacting when I was in England, but I was more interaction became very frequent when I sort of came back. And then somehow one fine day, I thought of, and actually it started because I was, during this pandemic, we hear a lot about force majeure clause. And that is under Indian Contract Act, force majeure clause. More specifically, it is impossibility section 56 clause 2. So one fine day at night, I was planning to sort of host it, but I never planned it to go formal and keep it a webinar or stuff like that. So one fine day at night, I sort of decided that today is the time that people are talking about force majeure a lot. So why don't I take this opportunity to educate my students about force majeure clause under Indian Contract Act and impossibility, which is section 56 clause 2. So from there it started that let's make it a formal poster. Let me send an invite. Let all the audience join and let me teach, because I don't know whether it is appropriate to say this or not, but the amount of satisfaction that I get, there are only two things that I am satisfied with. The amount of satisfaction I get when I'm arguing, that is bliss, no doubt. But the amount of satisfaction I get when I educate somebody, that is, I mean, I cannot express that feeling in words. So I took it that instead of me only studying and upgrading myself, why don't, and I know that practical aspects are not being taught, only theories are being taught, or appropriate amount of knowledge is not given to the law students. So I thought, let me, through the medium of workshops and webinars, let me take this initiative of educate everybody, not only my students, but not in my webinars and workshops. Not only my students come, everybody come, and those who don't know me, they also come. And I took it upon myself that it started with force majeure, but I took it upon myself that let me educate them on the important aspects or important areas of law, which I think the knowledge is very less when it comes to law students. So I keep on hosting all these webinars and workshops on important topics like CRPC, force majeure, IPC, criminal law and everything, so that I can educate them that, look, this is what it is actually is. This is what you are being taught in college. This is actually how the concept is in theory, and this is how it is applied in practice. So yes, I do this. Some people say I am doing it for some other XYZ reason, but believe you me, the amount of satisfaction I get when I teach somebody, and more satisfaction when I know that the other person has understood it completely, irrespective of the fact that the audience is from law or non-law background. So my ability that I can even teach a law topic to a non-law student, that is where the art lies. And touchwood, I'm very successful in doing that. Yes. So hosting workshops and webinars it's very good. You get satisfaction when you educate somebody. Yes.
So, what is the one piece of advice you want to give to all of the law students and the newly enrolled lawyers who may be watching this live today?
When you say this, I get this feeling that I'm 70, 80, 90 years old and I'm giving advice. But whatever I have experienced, whatever struggles I have done, whatever hardships I have gone through, I will tell you that. And I firmly believe that if you do this, you will be successful. Because I have been successful. I've seen it. You don't get an opportunity, because when I did that moot court in United Kingdom in Queens, Professor Dr. David Capper, I can name him because, and he doesn't teach the postgraduate students. He only supervises the PhD students. Once I completed my moot court, I asked for a sort of a certificate. And we were supposed, but just that the pandemic was going on. So I thought probably I've missed it. So I wrote an email to him saying that please give it to me. Unfortunately, in this laptop, I don't have it. But I remember each and every wording of it. The wording says that we need barristers like you to practice law in United Kingdom, because being an international student, knowing very less about law of contract in United Kingdom, you have argued so well, and you know the intricacies of law of contract as far as the UK is concerned. I was made this comment. This is to my knowledge, and I did my own sort of little research. Never ever has anybody got this comment, that a professor who does not know you at all comments that we need barristers like you in the United Kingdom. Number one. Number two, in open court, when the then Chief Justice of India, Justice Tirath Singh Thakur, tells you that we need more young lawyers like you to practice law, and I'm impressed by the fearlessness of how you argue. These are all instances where, it motivates you to do even more. My advice to everybody is, first of all, because I am always accused, and yes, this is my problem also, I sleep very less. So why do I sleep less? Because at times I feel that even 24 hours is short for me, because there's so much to learn. Law is, every day a new judgment is coming. You have to upgrade yourself. So if today you ask me what was held in so and so case, if I'm not able to tell you, you will not have a good impression of me, and then you will not recommend me to anybody as a lawyer. So you need to upgrade yourself, number one. Number two, if you don't have this habit of sacrificing, you will not achieve anything in life. Sacrifice is the first and foremost requirement in this profession. I like to play video games. I like to hang out with friends. I like to eat good food. I like to do 100 other things. But I sacrifice it all for my profession, because this is what I chose, and this is what I want to do, and this I will do it with complete heart and soul. So if you don't know how to sacrifice, you will not achieve anything. Think big. There are as I told at the starting of this live, that every year or every month, not every month, but every year, law universities are flushing out lawyers like anything. What makes you different from others, that you have to decide. I chose something which was my calling. Does not mean that everybody will start choosing criminal law. My forte lies in criminal, your forte might lie in civil, or somebody else's forte might lie in property or anything else. Listen to your calling and think big. Don't be afraid of taking risks. The law of gravity, or the law of this, not gravity, but the law of universe says that if you have to achieve big, you have to take risks. I took a humongous risk when I decided that I will put a break on my practice and I will go to United Kingdom. Because you leave your clients, you leave your court appearances, you leave everything. You are not in touch with Indian law. You're not in touch with Indian law anymore. And I was not in touch with Indian law for a period of 1.5 or quarter to 2 years. So that gives you off touch. But I was very firm that even though I'm in United Kingdom, I will still be in touch. So it was not that I was studying laws of United Kingdom, but simultaneously I was not in touch with Indian laws. I was. So think big, have this ability to take risks. And one more piece of advice, that we always, have this habit of blaming others for our shortcomings. वो नहीं हो पाया क्योंकि मैं ये नहीं कर पाया था. Like that. Nobody will listen. Nobody will listen. Nobody will listen to why you were unsuccessful. There are 24 hours in a day. Same is for you. Same is for me. Same is for Mr. Kapil Sibal. Same is for Mr. Mukul Rohatgi. Same is for everybody. If you are not able to do that means that there's some difficulty in you. Find out that difficulty and resolve it immediately. Because in this field, there is no room for shortcomings. This is what I have seen. If you want to reach at the top, you have to sacrifice anything and everything. One more thing, I personally, what I do is, if I can convey it to my audience, I follow a principle of MCD. So what is MCD? MCD is, M stands for must do, C stands for can do, and D stands for don't do. So in a day, whenever I start my day, whatever tasks I have, I bifurcate them. Must do, that these are the tasks that I must do. Now, after doing that must task, if I get time, I can do it, or I can request anybody else to do it. There are some things which I don't want to do, and I will not do. So some things which I don't want to do, I will not do it. I will not waste my time even thinking about it. So MCD principle is what I follow, and I believe everybody should follow MCD principle. A couple of more things before I wrap it up. Fear of losing. Fear of losing will give you victory. I had the fear of losing my clients. I had the fear of losing all my cases. I had the fear of losing my appearances in the court. That fear sort of pushed me to do extra. So if you have fear of losing, only then you will see victory. Dream with open eyes. Dream with open eyes. If whatever you have dreamt of, make sure that you are running after it. I put blinkers. I have blinkers. So things I have, because my goal is very clear in front of me, and I put blinkers. I will not look at anything and everything. I will just focus on my goals, and I will achieve them. And I will do anything and everything to achieve them. So my thought process after coming back from United Kingdom has changed a lot. So putting blinkers on, knowing where you want to go, what you want to do, what is your calling, whether it lies in what law, that is very, very important. And I have seen this, and I will tell it to everybody, that if your hard work is true, and if you're actually sweating, you will always find the right people at the right time. Believe you me, I had nothing. I had nothing with me. My family didn't have anything. Period from 2014 onwards was very difficult for me. So, but I never lost faith. Can you believe, and I can say this, I was sleeping for about 45 or half an hour a day. Every day at 5 o'clock in the morning. Every day. For 5 o'clock in the morning, I used to enter Supreme Court, the lawyers' chambers building. 5 o'clock in the morning. I had requested the guard outside to please open up and allow me. And fortunately, I was granted that permission. And every day, when people are sleeping at 5, I was working. So there is no alternative to hard work. You have to burn midnight oil. You have to sacrifice your sleep and anything and everything. Because until unless you do that, you will not be able to achieve it. At least in this profession, I'm very clear. And take one step at a time. Success will not come over time. Take one step at a time. I'm sure everybody ultimately does it. I have done it, and so can you.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. That was very, very inspiring. I think I have goosebumps already, and I'm sure most of our participants do as well. I think I'll follow up your answer with putting you on the spot a little bit.
Please.
With that, can you name just one skill if you were to advise any law students, young lawyers, one skill that a solicitor must have to make it? Just one.
One skill who must have?
Any new young lawyer, law student should have to make it in litigation.
Ability to put forward in simple words. No matter how complex the issue is, no matter how difficult the issue is, your ability to put it in very clear and very succinctly is what is important. Mind, I have done it and I was appreciated of it. That not every time everybody is expecting you to elaborate. There are times when people want a short answer in a snap. A, B, C, D, that's it, over. You will only be able to do that if you have, first of all, you have to read a lot. Because when you have to develop this ability to put forward your point in a very simple manner, first you have to understand the complex issue, then have a research, a thorough, comprehensive research on it. And then once the position is clear in your mind, only then you will be able to put forward. So remember I told you about hard work, sweat and blood and sweat and tears? It goes here. Why I have been, one of my so-called mantra of being successful is this. Section 320 CRPC, compoundability. I have a reportable judgment in that. Murder 302, I have 2 reportable judgments in that. Why? Because of this skill. This is very important. Nobody will, you see, reading is important. Reading is very important. I see people reading novels, people reading books. Why? Why? Are law books less to read? Are commentaries less to read? Are judgments less to read? Why don't you read that? If at all you have to improve your English also, you read commentaries, you read Supreme Court Digest, you read judgments, your English will be improved. I don't see need. Of course, you have to read a book. Read it, but only in your free time. But if at all you get a free time, which I don't think so you will get. So yeah, succinctly, one skill, ability to put forward your point in a very precise and crisp manner. Everybody should have. Because, just one last thing. There was a time when I went to brief Mr. Kapil Sibal in his house in Jodhpur. So, fascinated, but forget about that. He came from a lift. I greeted him. He sat and I sat. And you know that why does he charge so much? Because, I'll tell you, because he was saying, so he told me, Jai, brief me. So I started briefing the case. You know, he told me what I was supposed to tell him. So meaning that even before I could say something, you already know what I'm about to tell you. That obviously comes with experience and knowledge and everything. But I'm focusing not on experience, but I'm focusing on knowledge. Can you imagine the amount of reading he must have done? Can you imagine the amount of sweat he must have done? He was also a briefless lawyer before he took up P. Ramaswamy's case for impeachment. He was also a briefless lawyer. That case was done pro bono. If you must know, everybody. So, yes, this ability is, that is very important, yes.
I think that's very true, sir. May we take a few questions from the live chat?
Please.
So this question comes from Aditya Sharma. He asks, and I quote, "Sir, could you please shed some light on how to choose or apply for internships? Since there's no dearth of practicing lawyers to apply to, and they too have no dearth of law students to pick interns to."
First of all, I would recommend finding a lawyer and not a law firm. Second, I would recommend that, do you know your calling? Mr. Aditya Sharma, do you know your calling? If at all you're doing a general internship, then you can go in for law firms or pick up any advocate, because you are still in the initial years and you have to learn. But there will come a time that you will have to know by yourself. If you are a first generation lawyer, then you will have to know by yourself that these are the qualities that I have to look for in an advocate if I have to intern under him. So that ability to analyze what lawyer to choose to intern, because mind you, it is this lawyer whom will you choose will lay the founding stones, and it will be a disaster if the founding stones are not correctly put. So obviously, rightly put, that there are no less lawyers, there are no less interns. Find somebody. If you're in the initial years of your law school, then find somebody, be it law firm or anything, because you just have to get yourself an exposure. Find somebody whom you can, who can teach you just the basics of law, because you're still in the initial years. But once you enter second year end or third year beginning, start finding somebody who is best in that field. Because I firmly believe, and I follow this, if you don't learn from the best, you will not become the best. I have learned from the best, and that is why I don't know whether I am the best, but at least I'm on that path of achieving that. So yes. So if in the initial years, take up law firms or lawyers. But if you are in the third year, like that student, please find somebody through your contacts or anything who's the best in that field, and then join in.
Yeah. Right. I guess the next question comes from Subramanian Ganesh. He asks, how does a person around the age of 45 who's a first generation lawyer make it in litigation, or should they just try and find other avenues of law and litigation won't really happen for them?
Sir, age does not matter. Age does not matter at all. Of what I have seen, because I have seen the great Ramjet Milani arguing even when he was 95. So age does not matter. What matters is, do you want to do it? And if yes, then you will find out the ways to do it. Now it depends. If you don't know anything about law, go to Thesis-Dari, learn. And because I'm on this topic, I'm sorry for digressing, and then I'll come back. I see a lot of law students saying that I'm interning in Delhi High Court, or I'm interning in Supreme Court of India, or I'm interning with so-and-so big name, or so-and-so, that big name. That will not fetch you anything. Believe you me, that will not fetch you anything. Apart from that, if I may put it, fake fame. You should know the trial first. Any successful lawyer, open up the history, any successful lawyer will always recommend. I don't know about others, but I very firmly will recommend, go to the trial court, sweat there. Interact with the clients there. See how the charge sheet, if you're doing criminal, see how the charge sheet is filed. If you're doing civil, see how an affidavit is filed. See how you are arguing an application for condonation of delay in civil law. All these things you don't learn in High Court and Supreme Court. So please get out of this world, a fantasy world that you have. If you're doing internship in Supreme Court or High Court, you are best. No. Go to the trial court. I have spent 1.5 years there, or quarter to 2 years there. You should, if you have time, and if God forbid, if you don't have dearth of resources, shortage of resources, then spend at least 2.5, 3 years in trial court. Believe you me, these 3 years are like an FD, which will repay you when you will come to High Court and Supreme Court. Because what does High Court and Supreme Court do? It actually does what a trial court does, finds out mistakes. My senior, he told me that, Jai, criminal law, you will only be able to defend your client. So your client will be saved only by two ways. One, if God can save him. Second, if evidence can save him. How to appreciate the evidences is what you learn in a trial court. There's something called as relevant facts. There's something called as fact and issue. There's something called as plea of alibi. There's something called as privileged communication. So all these are areas in Evidence Act. And appreciation of evidences are not done in Supreme Court and High Court, mind you. They're done in trial courts. Go to the trial court and learn at least 2.5, 3 years. Spend there. That will. And if you are thinking right now that you are going through difficult times, it is not only you who have gone through those difficult patches. I have seen worse. I've seen worse, but I have not lost faith and hope, and see where I am today. So trial court is one. But anyways, sorry for digressing. Coming back, age is no number. If you want to do it, please start. If you have a basic knowledge of trial court, then go to High Court. If you get an opportunity, go to Supreme Court. Start doing cases, and you will once, twice. Obviously, it will not. You don't have a magical wound that you will just rotate it and you will get cases. But you have to build that goodwill. Over a period of time, it is built, and once it is, then you will have plethora. And plethora by me, I mean money will be so much that you will not be able to get it from two hands even.
Thank you so much, sir, for that very inspiring remark. So the next question, I believe, is very important.
Yes.
So what would you consider to be the one thing about yourself that you are still working on? I think our audience needs to discover that no matter how hard you work, that no one can be perfect. So what would be that one thing that you would consider that you're still working on and something that you can improve on?
So effectively, you're asking me to put forward my negative point. Anyways, this is just kidding. I think that I need to work more on doing research well. Because, the good part about research is you will always find something or the other. Even if you think that your case is the unique case in the world, no. You will always find something or the other when you're doing research. And as I've told you before, research is an art. You should know. And I was reading this incident. No, I was not reading it. I was looking at it on a social media. That a very famous painter, Picasso, a lady approached him and finally recognized that he's Picasso. Told him that, "Sir, can you make a painting for me?" So in about 1 minute, he drew that painting, and after giving that painting to that lady, he told that this painting is worth 50 lakh rupees. So the lady couldn't believe, and finally, just to check that whether what he's saying is correct or not, the lady started to go to shops, and finally, all the shopkeepers told that lady that this is Picasso painting, and we are ready to give you 50 lakh rupees. So that lady was shocked. Finally, after that lady wanted to meet Mr. Picasso, and then after a huge amount of searches, she finally met Mr. Picasso and finally asked, "How can you draw a painting worth 50 lakhs in just 1 minute?" Look at the reply. The reply which Mr. Picasso gave is that, "Madam, the painting which you are holding in your hand, which I drew in 1 minute, took me 30 years to be perfect." Same is with the research. No matter how old are you, no matter how young are you, no matter how good are you, research is something which if you do, so if, and you can see, if given the same topic, your research will be something else, my research will be something else. Topic is the same. So research is something which I believe I can need to focus more on. Though not saying that my research is bad, but yes, I can focus more on that just to improve it.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. We've had a very, very interesting, inspiring, breathtaking. I'll run out of adjectives probably. A great session for 2.5 hours. If there are any parting words that you have for our audience, maybe a few words that will just inspire them and maybe help them continue on this journey, this very long journey. And I'm sure all of them look up to you as a mentor, as someone who they hope to be someday, very soon.
I was telling this to one of my students the other day. I was speaking to her. I was telling her that about mind. Mind is very functions in a very different manner. If you will notice, how you train your mind, he will function like that. So mind is very unique, and the good part about mind is how you tame it, it will work like that. Number one. Number two is your ability to do what you have determined. I have taken sessions, I have gone to courts, I have taught even though I had 103 fever. Because I directed my mind that I have to do this and I will do this, though I was told by many to postpone it. But my mind functions in such a manner, because I've trained my mind in such a manner, that it always looks positive. Please be positive. In this field, you have to be positive. No matter how rich you are, no matter how poor you are, you have to be positive. Because there will come a time you will see nothing is happening. You're doing it according to you, you're doing it in a very mechanical manner. Like I was doing, so-called mechanical, getting up in the morning, going to college, going to court, coming back, again sleeping, studying, going to court, going to college, coming back. So this life cycle was happening and I was frustrated at the time. Mind you, there were times I was studying in the university library till 7 o'clock at night, from Noida all the way to South Delhi. And I've worked and I've slogged. Success will not come to you if you are lazy. Somebody was telling me, and he loves me a lot, but anyways, he was telling me that, sir, you should at least sleep for 8 to 10 hours a day. I don't, and believe you me, I don't recall whether I've slept for 8 to 10 hours a day when. I don't sleep for 8 to 10 hours a day. Sleep is important, yes. Very important, absolutely yes. But nothing will happen to you if you don't sleep. Nothing will happen. Sleep is important, yes. You should. Very good. But it's your mind. Train your mind in such a manner that it looks always to the positive aspect of it. Because this field requires a lot of positivity. Any negativity will spoil it. And one last thing before I wrap it up. It's been a long session. Just one last thing before I wrap it up. Have you noticed law same, 511 sections of IPC same, everything remains the same. One lawyer is earning in lakhs and one lawyer is earning in crores. Why? I don't know, because I think about it, so hence I'm discussing it. Why is it? Law is the same. Cases are the same. Supreme Court judgments are so much available to you as it is available to me. But why is it that I'm earning in lakhs and somebody is earning in crores. You know what? You know how much Mr. Kapil Sibal charge? Not less than a crore. Why? And people give it to him very happily. Why? IPC remains the same for him as much as it remains it for me. I charge in lakhs and he charges in crores. Why? Obviously, experience is there. Forget that. That will only come with age. That is not in your hand. But what is in your hand is books and studies. For all the law students and newly enrolled lawyers, 7 years or 10 years of your life initially, if you have given it to the profession, then by the time you will turn 30, 35 or 40, believe you me, it is just a matter of months that you will earn. You just have to open your mouth and ask and quote your fees. Today, I am at that stage of my life where I'm not that old, but I'm at that stage that I have not taken loan. I have not taken money from my mother when I was going to England. I've spent, today, my mother accuses me, rather scolds me for splurging, because I splurge a lot today. Why? Because I do hard work a lot. You will only, because this is the fundamental rule of life, you will only earn that much which is your worth. I went to England or United Kingdom because I wanted to increase my worth. Because I'm sick and tired of earning in lakhs. I want to move up. Upgrade yourself. And just one last parting word. If anybody of you have went to a spa, obviously pandemic, maybe obviously not going to go to a spa, but pre-pandemic, if you have gone to spa, all those things which are taught to you in a spa, all those things will never lead you to success. Close your eyes, relax, ting tong, ting ting, whatever that sound is there. You cannot be at peace if you have to be successful. You cannot be at peace. You have to you have to be hyper. You have to be hyper if you have to be successful. Success will not come to you if you don't sacrifice. I love to play games. I love to eat good food. I love to sit with my mom and talk. But I love to, of course, I'm very fond of Apple. To go and buy Apple products here and there. But I sacrifice it all for this. And believe you me, the returns which you will get is breathtaking. So sacrifice is what I can tell you, and dream big and dream with open eyes. Only then will your dream be successful. And instead of focusing on things which are not important, put blinkers and focus on your goals. That is very, very important. And you will earn only that much which is your worth. So if you have to earn more, increase your worth.
Right. I think on those words, if you want to earn more, increase your worth, I think that's a great place to end. I just want to say that we're highly indebted to you, sir, and we want to express our deep gratitude to Advocate Jai Wadhwa, who, despite his extremely hectic schedule, took time out and was a part of the session and very readily agreed to address law students, lawyers, law professors, and other legal professionals. We are beholden to you, sir, for all your support and guidance that we've received all through this virtual session, and very crucial advice for particularly young lawyers and law students such as myself and a lot of our audience members. Your words of wisdom are certainly create a path for all the participants of this virtual session, and we're really grateful for your guidance, sir. And I think it's given all of us motivation to strive that much more harder in this great and illustrious profession. I once again thank you, Jai Wadhwa, sir, and we hope that we have your blessings for future endeavors. And I just want to thank
me. Sorry, please go ahead.
I just want to say thank you to our audience who've been here, and just want to say that everyone should stay safe out there. Please, sir.
So much, Saharsh, Krisha, and all the entire team of Lex Macula. You people are doing a very good job, and especially educating in these difficult times. is very, very important. And you've taken up this initiative along with your own studies. Fantastic. High regards to all of you. Thank you for having me. And thank you for being associated with me and my law offices. And thank you for all the audience who have come and who have given me a patient hearing. I hope my words or my experiences, most importantly, will guide you in the profession. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. With this, I think we'll close this session. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here.
Thank you. Goodbye.